Have you ever heard of the New Order of Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler? Essentially, it consisted of envisioning a genetically perfect Germanic people by pursuing the ideal Aryan human. To achieve this, the Führer was willing to go to any lengths and therefore designed a program to kidnap children as part of the Nazi reorganization plans for occupied Europe. During World War II, the Germans abducted hundreds of thousands of infants and subjected them to forced Germanization. The nature of these acts was not only extremely inhumane and cruel but also profoundly hypocritical, as many of the stolen children were of nationalities that the Germans considered inferior and wanted to exterminate. In today's video, we will tell you about the gruesome Nazi plans to create the perfect German citizen and the delusions of the Aryan race. We will also share with you the horrifying worldview shared by Hitler and Himmler, which led to the abduction of thousands of children coveted by the Third Reich. Don't move away from the screen and get ready to be amazed by this abhorrent historical fact. Welcome to Military History. Let's begin. The improvement of the German race was an obsession for Hitler, who, in a memorandum dated March 4, 1944, instructed Heinrich Himmler, the leader of the SS, to take action. The purpose of the SS was to enforce Nazi racial doctrine and anti-Semitic ideals. In Himmler's mind, anti-Semitism was mixed with a crude blood and soil mysticism, meaning that being born in German lands made one part of a superior race. Since the early days of National Socialism in 1924, Himmler had argued that the mixed-race German people needed to become a pure Germanic race again. Mounted on a grandiose delusion, Himmler, who held a diploma in agriculture, believed he could implement the breeding of this new superior race using the same methods and precepts he applied on his chicken farm. The real terror began with the Nazi occupation of European territories. When the German army invaded Poland in September 1939, the invaders were surprised by the abundance of blonde, blue-eyed children in Polish families. Enraptured, Himmler stated in a speech to his officers in Posen in October 1943 that it was the duty of all to take Polish children with the Nazis, if necessary, by stealing them and eliminating their less suitable families, in order to send them to Germany to be raised as a superior race. This is where the hypocrisy of Nazi doctrine begins, in addition to its irrational and deep-seated hatred of other peoples and races. The Nazis believed that the Poles were inferior to them in all aspects, so the notion that there were Aryan-looking children in Poland conflicted with their ideology. How could Poles be an inferior race if some of them resembled the ideal German? To reconcile this dilemma, the Germans spread the idea that these children were originally descended from German blood, so they convinced themselves that they were not stealing children but simply reclaiming lost blood that belonged to the fatherland. Poland was not the only nation to suffer this tragedy, as Aryan-looking children from Czechoslovakia, Slovenia, Belarus, and Ukraine were also kidnapped and sent to Germany. It is estimated that 220,000 Polish children, and 400,000 in total including other countries, were abducted from their homes by the Nazis between 1939 and 1944 and sent back to Germany to be Germanized. By 1940, Himmler was planning the racial selection of Polish children aged 6 to 10 to deport them to German lands. In a letter to the Nazi governor of Poznan, he wrote, "I believe it is correct to deport racially pure Polish children, declaring officially that deportations are being carried out as a health measure for the good of these children." This way, many Polish childhoods were torn from their families, but not all were considered fit. The National Socialist authorities were very clear about what kind of children they wanted to extract from foreign lands. In October 1939, Adolf Hitler established the Reich Commissioner for the Strengthening of the German People. With Himmler at the helm, its goal was to repopulate the invaded territories. In February 1942, SS Gruppenführer, Major General Ulrich Greifeld of Himmler's office issued Directive 67-1. Polish children with suitable Aryan characteristics would be identified and separated from their parents on the pretext that their health was at risk. The kidnapped children were photographed and analyzed based on 62 physical characteristics, including hair and eye color, nose length, lip thickness, and posture. Even a girl's pelvis size was measured for reproductive reasons, to determine if it was suitable for carrying a German. At times, the Nazis used the so-called Brown Sisters to find children suitable for abduction by the SS. These women were nurses dedicated to the National Socialist cause from the Nazi welfare organization. These sinister fanatics searched in villages and towns for Aryan-looking children, then passed that information to local SS authorities, who would ultimately make them disappear from their homes, usually at night. During the mass deportation, the Poles were classified by Nazi experts from the main office of race and resettlement. The standard procedure was to create a dossier for each child with 3 photos and a physical and genetic expert evaluation that produced a result, either positive or negative, from a racial perspective for procreation in Germany. Children who were found unsuitable were poisoned, and their death certificates listed pneumonia as the cause of death. The poisoning was administered by the B department of the Medizinische Kinderleinanstalt in Lubliniec, an organization with the gruesome task of exterminating children classified as impure. At the same time, many infants who failed the medical examination were sent to the Auschwitz and Treblinka concentration camps, where they were killed in gas chambers. If children were determined to be suitable, those aged 2 to 6 had to be sent to maternity homes in Germany, where they would become Lebensborn children and then be adopted by a family assigned by the SS. To bury their original identity forever, false birth certificates with new names and places of birth in German were issued. In many cases, the Nazis would give the child a similar-sounding surname to make it easier to remember and confuse. On the other hand, children between 6 and 12 years old who passed the aptitude tests were sent to German motherland schools, or Heimschulen, where they would be taught to become the ideal German. Students at these institutions were forced to wear uniforms with swastikas and sing military songs from Nazi doctrine. The goal was to erase any trace of their native heritage and turn them into loyal and indoctrinated followers. They were also taught to speak German, and if they insisted on speaking their native language, they were starved or beaten with a strap. Those who were too rebellious were executed directly, either by sending them to concentration camps or by shooting, poisoning, or letting them die of starvation. Once the children were properly Germanized, they were considered available to be adopted by German families. Historian Richard Lucas writes that some Polish girls of childbearing age with Aryan characteristics were even sent to SS maternity homes in Germany, where they became breeding material for SS officers. This basically meant that high-ranking officers systematically sexually abused these girls, impregnating them repeatedly to generate superior Germans and populate the homeland. But this was only one of the projects the Nazis had planned for the methodical creation of the Aryan race. The Lebensborn program, which means Fountain of Life, was created by the SS in late 1935 to promote the growth of a healthy and dominant Aryan population in Germany. The project was designed to be the beginning of future generations descended from those whom the Nazi authorities considered racially valuable. Originally, it focused on encouraging SS men to have large families and discouraging unmarried Aryan women from having abortions. This system was heavily influenced by Nazi racial ideology and eugenics theories, so it only accepted healthy applicants who could convincingly prove their Aryan ancestry. The SS examined people's medical backgrounds as well as their family genetic records. Applicants could be denied based on their supposed racial impurity or if they had a family history of physical, mental, or psychiatric disabilities. Nazi eugenics theories proposed the idea that personal character traits like loyalty and bravery were hereditary and could be promoted through selective breeding. In this way, the SS hoped to stimulate the growth of a strong German population and a racial elite that would achieve the Nazi goals of conquering and colonizing Eastern European territories. Like many aspects of Nazi eugenics, Lebensborn became more radicalized in the context of World War II. The need for the program grew as Himmler began to worry that the inevitable German casualties would cost the nation thousands of its racially valuable soldiers. The war also provided new opportunities that the program began to exploit in a sinister way. One measure was to establish various Lebensborn homes in territories occupied by the Germans. There, SS military and civilian staff violated and impregnated foreign women. Within the program, it was assumed that children born would be raised after establishing the mother's health, family backgrounds, and Aryan ancestry. The Lebensborn program was also involved in the kidnapping of thousands of foreign children during the war. The SS sought ethnic Germans living in foreign countries and repatriated them to the Third Reich. Thousands of infants, mostly from Eastern and Southeastern Europe, were kidnapped because they had German ancestry or simply the appropriate racial characteristics. Then, the Lebensborn program helped place these children with German families who believed they were adopting war orphans. Himmler believed that the program would become the source of future generations of the racial elite of Nazi Germany, but Lebensborn was only a criminal organization that appropriated foreign children. The legacy of the program includes destroyed homes and devastated parents and also a generation of children forced to deal with identity crises, as well as the social disapproval that often accompanied their association with a Nazi eugenics program. After World War II, the Polish government created the Operation for the Recovery of Children, led by Dr. Roman Raber. Its mission was to reunite the children stolen by the Nazis with their legitimate parents. Investigators first had to determine how the children's names had been changed and then where they had been relocated. Once found, many German parents did not want to believe that their adopted children were Polish and refused to hand them over to the authorities. The task was doubly difficult because the children no longer spoke Polish and remembered nothing of their original life or family.
Mit viel Angst. Mit viel Angst. Ich habe auch jahrelang versucht, es anders zu verarbeiten, auch mit Hilfe, mit Professionellen. Aber das bleibt mir, ist ein Teil von mir geworden. Und auch mit so viel Undefinierbares.
Estimates vary as to the actual number of children stolen by the Nazis, but according to the German newspaper Handelsblatt in 2018, it is estimated that up to 400,000 Aryan-looking children were taken from their families in Eastern Europe by the Nazis. After the war, only 25,000 were recovered, the rest remained shrouded in mystery. Today, thousands of people and their descendants live a fraudulent life in Germany without knowing their true identity or family heritage. We are nearing the end of this presentation, and we wanted to ask you, do you think it is possible for these kidnapped children to recover their true identity, or did the Nazis achieve their plan? Leave your opinions in the comments below. That's it for today's video. We appreciate you for sticking around until the end, and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming episodes of Military History.